back to Recorder on the Wall, where we're doing part 2 of our summer food episode. Why part 2? Well, we didn't have everybody last time, and, well, we have another guest. I'm your Papa Abbott Pete.
Nom, nom, nom. Oh, wait. Were we supposed to eat before the show? Nom, 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 nom. I'm Jeremy.
You were scrubbing every pan.
I'm Matthias. I'm here to beat Peanut Gallery because I contributed last time.
Yep. And introducing for our show one of our sibling podcasts for the first time, we have Abbey Archives and Izzy.
Hi, my name is Izzy. I'm from Abbey Archives, which hasn't come out yet, but we have our release date set for August. So be on the lookout on your podcatcher of choice. Around August, we are a podcast where we're rereading Redwall. Both me and Kit, my co-host, read Redwall like as children, and we talk about it constantly with each other. It's an influence on all of our work. And we decided, well, we should reread them and discuss them because there's some things in these books that really need unpacking.
So I have 2 questions for you then.
Yes.
One, what's your favorite book? Because we ask everybody who comes on our show that. And less related, who is your least favorite hair and why is it Scarum?
Well, I'm gonna preface this with I have not read all of the books yet because there are, I think, the last 4 or 5 books I have not read, and that is because I was buying them from a used bookstore.
That's fair.
Constantly as a kid. So I have not read the last few. But I know that my favorite, because it's one that I come back to constantly, is Outcast. The Outcast of Redwall. It is. Listen, as a outcast of society myself, that book. Oof.
No, you're free to have your
skip
favorite
our
book.
episodes on that when you listen back through. Then you're not going to like us if you listen to those
We
episodes.
were not kind to that book. No.
We ripped them apart, put them back together,
yeah.
and then ripped them apart again.
No,
It was
the way that it's written is bad. No, I agree. Like the way that it's handled, bad. I have so many opinions, but I identify with that character so much.
Fair enough.
And I don't have a least favorite of anybody unless if it's like Wildcats.
Oh,
censor that, but yeah.
So,
I didn't know if we weren't allowed to curse. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
No,
sorry.
it's okay.
We do PG.
Okay,
on here,
I
so
will censor myself as best I can.
You are free to use Redwall swears.
Yes.
If I can remember them. It has actually been a hot second since I have read the books in full. So reminding myself of like the Redwall like language quirks has been a fun experience.
You could also go to our pastime. If you go to listen to our, I think it was book 2 of Pearls of Lutra, we decided to start using the seal's hom as a censor word.
That's really good. Very specifically for Abbey Archives, the way that Kit and I are looking at it is through the lens of somebody who grew up and still is like Christian and someone who's not, because of the way that religion and Arthurian legend is very heavy-handed in these books. And that's all I have to say on that right now, besides the fact that we're recording our first episode next weekend.
I'm curious, what's the order you're approaching the books in?
So we're doing Mossflower, Redwall, and Matmeo first, and then we're doing publication order.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, we're doing publication order because we both really like the way that lore is kind of distributed in publication order, and how you like find new things out as you go.
Okay. Yeah, we ended up we did Redwall, then Matmeo, and then we did chronological order, which eventually turns into publication order anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And for the listeners, I use they, them pronouns. And when you listen, like Kit and I will introduce ourselves. Kit uses she, her. She's not here because she's busy.
That's fair. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how your show shakes out, and we'll go from there. We, for the record, we had in part 1, we had Fox Penmanship on, and
Yes.
I really wanted to get Redwall, but our schedules just didn't match up. So we'll get them on eventually.
They went ahead and
guess-
did their own food episode anyway, so
They
I don't
did?
think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's their latest episode.
Yep.
As of when we're recording this.
Yeah, I saw it on the Abbey Archives Twitter feed earlier.
Unfortunately, the only one we never got was the Red Wall, but they seem to have fallen apart. So if they come back, great. If not, well, I wish them luck wherever they ended up.
If You Give a Mouse a Dagger also fell apart, and that makes me very sad.
Yeah, I was sad to see them not stop. Even their RSS feed is gone. So
Aw. Rip and rest.
indeed. So that answers most of the questions I have on your show. Now, were you guys was that Netflix announcements kind of the spark to get started, or was that just a happy bonus for you?
It was kind of both. We've been talking about this off and on, like we should reread the books and talk about them
Mhm.
together for years. And then the announcement for the Netflix thing, we were like, oh, we should actually do this.
Mm-hmm.
We should actually, since I've started doing podcasting and I've got the setup down, I was like, we should actually do this. And Kit was like, yes, absolutely. And we've been doing planning for the past few months, like how do we want to do this and all the other logistical nonsense.
Logistics are important, as Jeremy and I quickly found out with our first podcast. So,
Mhm.
which we're still sporadically updating.
For the record, I still haven't watched that movie for the next
Neither
show.
have I. So, no, get me wrong. I have watched it already, and I'm not exactly thrilled with going back to it, but I will.
We could always cover something else.
We could.
Also,
Especially
I also have been watching it because I've been hooked on Ratchet and Clank on PS5 for the last month. I've beaten it 3 times. I'm about halfway through the 4th playthrough of it.
Fair enough.
Sometimes it be like that.
So,
Huh?
Sometimes it be like that.
Yep.
So, before we get into their food, Jeremy and Izzy had made food for this at my request. Let's go back in the halcyon years of the early Redwall Online forum that I know Matthias was a part of too. So was I. And there were a spread of different websites out there that you could have tracked down. I don't know when the official Redwall site went live. I probably could use the web archive to figure that out, but I'm lazy. So, but the short version is where I'm going with this is that there was a time when impressionable was it middle school to early high school me would look up recipes inspired by fans, because at the time I don't think the cookbook was out, and I discovered a recipe for strawberry cordial. I almost said raspberry, but strawberry. And in retrospect, even I had sense of mind to Google what cordial was back in the day, and I knew this wasn't it, but I wanted to give it a shot anyway because Redwall community. And it's a smoothie. It is literally strawberries, sugar, and ice. And it's a smoothie. That's all it was.
I
decent
used
smoothie.
a fan recipe for quote unquote shrew beer, which was basically just a root beer float. I am not complaining, by the way.
Mine was just, I also reproduced it with changing out blueberries, showing the early chef I ended up being, where I love to experiment, but it was a smoothie. Can I say? That being said, I did attend yesterday a beer making class and got some ideas, so who knows? I might actually try real October ale in the future.
Good luck, Ambrose.
Well, probably not even good luck. Listen, you.
I'm not as drink as you truck I did.
God, Matthias. You might as well say your joke.
I love it, Matthias.
Jeremy tried to make shrew beer, and it turned out to be a root beer float, so it was really more of a shroot beer float.
That's canon now.
God.
Shrews do know about floating things, so.
Yeah, they do.
Mm.
Okay. That being said,
Whatever floats your
Matthias,
shrew boat.
before we get into these two food, Matthias, did you ever track down any recipes from those early days and try them yourself, or?
No, my
Okay.
foray into Redwall cooking was the first food episode that I participated in.
Ha! That's fair.
Although I did have the cookbook, it was something that I bought myself like 2 years prior.
Mhm.
So I had it. I just hadn't had a reason to really dig into it. Now I do.
Because Papa Abbott demands it.
Yes, Father Rabbit.
I actually used a recipe off of the old redwall.net kitchen section, which I have pulled up right now for our very first food episode. That was I believe it was the vegetable soup that I made.
Yes.
And then eventually I did buy the cookbook, which that's what I used for today's recipe.
Yep. That being said, Jeremy, what did you make?
I made Gaussam shortbread, which is basically just shortbread, which for those who want to try baking something really, really, really simple, it's butter, flour, sugar, and a tiny bit of salt, and that's it. It's very basic. You take, I don't have the cookbook in front of me, so I don't remember the exact amounts, but I know it was at least, I believe, 2.5 cups of flour, two sticks of butter. So there's a lot of butter in this, and a half cup of sugar, and like a little pinch of salt. You mix all that together, then you put it out in 2 pans, and then you bake it for, I think it was like about 45 minutes or so, and that's it. And it's very tasty because it's basically just butter, flour, and sugar.
I mean, what
Is
else
it
do you
good?
need in life?
It was tasty. I think if I try making again, one, I will not eat all of it myself over the course of the week like I did last time because I felt kind of gross after that. I will share it with other people, but I'm also probably going to try putting stuff in it. So like it makes 2 pans worth. So maybe one pan I'll put like pecans in, make like pecan shortbread, and the other one I'll put like chocolate chips in it.
So was it good? You better believe it.
You see, Izzy, what I have to deal with on my
It
show?
sure was.
Oh my god.
Ding and ding.
Pete is rather salty right now.
We're in a flowery mood. There, we hit every single ingredient.
I'm dying, actually.
Please don't. I'd rather not your show have a chance to get off the ground first.
That's fair.
And besides, Jeremy and I can come up with better jokes than that.
Even if some of them are short.
Oh. Oh.
And the
I don't
benefit of
know
an
that-
audio podcast is none of you can see how hard I'm face palming.
Um,
I'm grinning because, like, as much as I'm making noises at this is genuinely funny.
yeah, so that's what I made. I mean, over the last couple weeks, I've just been making stuff in general. I actually made my own pico de gallo salsa, which turned out to be very delicious. Unfortunately, I also got the jalapeno oil on my hands.
Oh,
That
I'm sure
was
that
not-
you're fine.
That wasn't fun. There's a reason why they call it a jalapeno burn.
Yeah, pure capsaicin is nasty.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, my my jalapeno plants did not survive. I have a small herb garden on my porch, so
yeah. I also legitimately burned myself with a hot cookie sheet about a month ago, and it looks like I'm gonna have 2 scars from that. So that's been fun too. My favorite part was when the pharmacist asked, does it still hurt?" when I went over like 10 minutes after I did it. And she's like, "Does it still hurt? Because it looks like it still hurts." And I was like, "Yeah, a little bit." It was bright red.
oh no, I'm okay.
Yep. So So, quick tip to people: be very, very careful when you're cooking in general.
Well,
And if you're
we
going to
made-
be handling jalapenos or any other spicy pepper, wear rubber gloves. Do not do what I did and just use your bare hands.
Oh no, you'll be fine. There's that special herbal wash up in the infirmary.
But then why are my hands red?
Oh,
Uh-oh.
no reason.
Uh-oh.
I think Pete just gave you a veiled threat. I promised I'd be the peanut gallery.
Actually, I ended up using like 4 or 5 different remedies for it. And good news is the burn went away, like the burning feeling went away after like a couple hours. But then by the next morning, my hands were like cracking and feeling bad. Like the skin was all cracked because I put so much junk on them.
Ooh.
Yeah. Soaked in milk, used some cornstarch, used dish soap because that cleans away the oils, used rubbing alcohol and isopropyl alcohol, and also put aloe vera and burn gel on it. So, okay, 7 different things. My hands were
would've
not
been too
happy by
much.
the next day.
Okay.
But
Now
yeah.
that we've discussed Jeremy's medical problems, Izzy, what did you make for this?
So I made 2 things because I had my wisdom teeth out, so I couldn't make food. So I made strawberry fizz, and I was supposed to make raspberry cordial, but there were no raspberries at Kroger anywhere,
The audacity of them.
right? So I had to buy blackberries, but it is still delicious. And I couldn't actually make the strawberry fizz a fizz because I'm not supposed to have fizzy drinks right now either. So what I did is I mixed it with lychee juice, like a lychee calpico drink, and that was delicious. And then I did the same thing with the blackberry cordial, and that was also really good. They were a lot easier to make than I thought they would be because before now I had never done any forays into Redwall cooking beyond trying to make mead, which turned out badly because I was trying to make non-alcoholic mead. I did that as a kid. I was one of those kids though that was unaware that you could use the internet to find things like this for fiction until after I stopped being interested in the fiction. And like I've always been interested in Redwall, but there was a point where like, you fall off of things every so often. Like by the time I had figured out, oh, I can look up things about my favorite media properties online, I didn't think to look up anything for Redwall. I didn't know there was a forum. I didn't know there was a website. I didn't know there was a wiki. I have been experiencing Redwall on my own for many years.
Well, I'm glad you've got a community to help
Yes.
help rise you through here. So, that being said, anything this blackberry, you said it came out well.
Yeah. It took like 30 minutes to make because the blackberries had to cook down. Because the recipe I used, I didn't actually use the cookbook. I Googled Redwall recipes for the strawberry fizz and the raspberry cordial, and found recipes that were like, these are based on Redwall recipes from like websites that I don't remember now. Sorry, I have some of the blackberry cordial with me right now. It's really good.
Very
my
nice.
my partner has been drinking it all week and he has loved it. It literally, this was the easiest thing I think I've ever made that involved like using actual fruit, because it was just throw the frozen fruit in a pan, put a bunch of sugar on them, let them cook, and then strain it after you mash it. Then you can drink it. And yeah, mine is very Dibbin friendly because it's literally just juice and a lot of sugar. Maybe don't give this to Dibbins, actually. Maybe don't give this to Dibbins.
As we pointed out in our winter food episode, there are 2 recipes in the Redwall cookbook that are allegedly Dibbin friendly. Here, kids, you want to operate a blender? Um,
Well, they to be fair, the cookbook does have like little signs and stuff of like kids can make this on their own, or you should probably have a parent with you.
Mhm.
well, the two ones that are supposed to be kids on make their own does involve a blender and is just sugar upon sugar. So
Yeah, don't. It's so much sugar to give a kid. This was what was I think it was like 4 cups of sugar to 2 pounds of blackberries.
Wow.
Yeah. The strawberry was less sugar because it was making basically a strawberry syrup that you put in something else. But it also yielded significantly less because instead of cooking the strawberries down, you started making the simple syrup, put the strawberries in after turning the heat off and letting it soak, basically. Like the sugar through like osmosis, I'm assuming, pulls like the juice of the strawberry out while like the syrup takes the place of the juice in the strawberry. Um, the strawberries themselves also really good, but they sure look weird.
Yeah, that is kind of an ongoing thing we've noticed with some of the recipes is a lot of them are not like outside of like basic, oh, here's some soup, but some of these are kind of not healthy in any conceivable
oh
way.
god,
To
no.
be fair,
hmm
I don't think that's the point.
No, this is true. No, that's
Mm.
very true.
These are like
Like,
the things that they bring out that are like, we want this because it tastes good, and taste good doesn't always equal healthy. Although I will say this is probably better for me than like store-bought blackberry juice.
yeah, this is true, and at least you know what's going into it. Like, I'm sure if I picked up like some sort of thing of shortbread from the store, I'd look at it and there'd be like 18 other ingredients that I can't
Yeah.
pronounce.
Yeah, because it's
Mhm.
all the preservatives and stuff. Which preservatives aren't bad; they're not necessarily bad for you, but it's like less that your body has to process when you
Yeah.
make it yourself.
I will say one of my friends and I did try making like meringue cookies.
Mhm.
Like the is I had picked up some from a store and we're like, let's try making these. And I found out my little stick blender was not that you can attach a whisk to was not strong enough to whip the eggs. We had it going until it actually started getting hot, and we're like, okay, maybe we shouldn't do this.
This is a bad idea.
I actually bought a stand mixer though that's a lot bigger than I expected it to be, so I will be using that for stuff as well.
Sorry, kind of lost my train of thought there. Redo. So
Train
yeah,
of thought. Boarding station 2.
now I'm gonna have to keep that for the humor. And of course, just in this time, I don't know if you guys can hear it because we seem to record these around the same time. There's the ice cream truck outside my place.
Sugar.
I was going to comment. No, I mean Redwall feast. The particular season feasts are always over the top
Yeah.
on purpose. But even some of the day-to-day stuff, you wonder how really healthy this is.
Yeah.
Well,
You could argue that they their work does keep them burn enough calories to keep them okay, but at the same time, we are often told of how many Redwallers, especially those who work in the kitchen, tend to be overweight.
this is
Mhm.
true. I was gonna say they do burn plenty of calories by fighting off the constant vermin attacks. So
Thematically, I think it has something to do with just showcasing the Abbey as being a kind of like paradise space.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always enough food to go around, and there's enough food that it's stuff that you wouldn't normally find, like with the people who just live in Mossflower specifically, because that same excess is not really found with the people who live in Mossflower rather than in the Abbey.
this is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do appreciate though that they showcase most of the time like the actual hard work that goes into making these things too.
Like we do get like good views of the kitchens a lot of the times,
Yeah.
which is always nice. Or like campfires with food being made, or like a character like, I found something to make food with. Otter
Yep.
comes up with a handful of watercress.
Still better
It
than
was,
Skilly and Duff, but
I was thinking of like Mossflower when they were on the beach and they had to like Martin, Gomph, Log, and Dinny had to like scramble some stuff together, and we're like, they're like, okay, here we found this tiny little bit of fresh water. Let's try making salad or like this little hot pot. And wow, everything has a lot of salt.
I will say there is one other thing I can think of in terms of story rationale that could explain why all the food is so unhealthy. Hibernation for winter.
Yeah, that's an
Yeah,
argument you can make.
except for when they're eating the unhealthy food when it's not close to winter.
I mean,
It is what it
we
is.
could,
I mean,
we could go back and forth probably with any number of, well, what about this? What about this?
That's fair.
In the end, do we really care?
No.
no, no.
In the end, food good.
Yeah, food good.
Yes, food very good.
I always wanted to be part of the feasts when I was a kid, like reading these. I was always like, I want that much food. I want hot pot soup. I want all of this. Gimme. I never made it because it didn't. But now I'm an adult and I can do it because I have adult money.
Yep. And now also as adults, we can look and go, maybe I won't make the thing that's just like 90% sugar and 10% fruit.
It's got fruit. It must be healthy.
Of course.
It still kind of has the color of a strawberry. It's still good.
Fresh off the strawberry tree, hey?
Yeah. I mean, we do see some of Salamandastron stuff, but it makes more sense that they're a military organization that operates for, basically food that sticks to your ribs, but they're also doing a lot more. Their duties probably burn just as many calories.
Yeah. And when Sunflash arrived, that's when they learned how to really cook some good stuff.
Yes.
So that being said, listeners, when you're listening to this, what comes after food? Redwall food.
Redwall
Summer.
food.
Oh.
Summer time.
Take
In the
two.
summertime when the Redwall is fine.
2021. What comes after this? Well, I need to meet with my panelist here to say if we have a trivia episode coming. I just don't know when. Or we can get to the book that these guys have been building up for the last several years of Doom White.
Welcome to your doom.
Or I need to talk about my panelists here when we do the other Redwall picture book. The Great Redwall Feast. Because we haven't done that yet. And then if you've been listening to us with any sort of time, you know what we do in October. It shouldn't be shocking.
Cast away things.
Yeah. Sometimes like a third book or something,
And at
Nothing
some
too
point,
big, just the one that has the most ire for KD. Nothing too big.
Yep. I mean, everyone gets a turn to soapbox in this show, right?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, I complained plenty during Hyrule Lane, so.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I put in the RSS feed. Like, what does it take to make Jeremy soapbox? This book.
Every villain in this book.
You had opinions.
We
had
noticed.
many opinions. I started referring to characters by things other than their names. I called one of them Putrid for the rest of the book. And I referred to the annoying wife of the main villain as Queen of the Harpies for the rest of the book. I can't remember what I called the main villain. I think I called him Moron like 18 times, though.
As you may have noticed, but we tend to be opinionated on this show.
Listen, I mean, it's going to be same on Abbey Archives. Kit and I are very opinionated.
Good, because that what makes good for good podcasts, as long as you balance it with humor. So
yeah. That being said, we were all, I'd say the book we were all universally positive about was The Long Patrol.
The Long Patrol is so good.
Mm-hmm. That was a very good one. That book was better than I remembered it being. Mm-hmm. Like I remembered it was good, but oh my god.
I have a funny anecdote, and that is my mom did not realize that I owned that book. Mm-hmm. And I somehow had 3 copies of them at one point because she continued to forget I owned it.
Nice.
I only have one copy now, but
Somebody asks you why you have 3 copies, you be like, in case I want to read it more than once.
I gotta bookmark different sections. This
I'm
one's
sorry,
the one
what?
I put a highlighter in. This is the one that's pristine.
I'm sorry, wait, what? Highlighter? I work in a library. This is not okay. This is not okay.
I don't actually highlighter books. I think the only book I did that to was a John Green book, and you know what? At this point, I don't care.
Oh well, that's fair enough.
Matthias, I pray you never find the our NRSV study Bible I did in college. Because let's just say, as a theology major at St. Lucia University at the time, we were encouraged to buy, even secondhand or direct new, a study Bible that would be marked up considerably as we went through hermeneutics and exegesis classes and learned all the neat little Greek and Hebrew stuff.
I was going to say, I have 2 copies of the original Redwall because my first copy was falling apart. Like, the cover actually fell off. So
And I
had
can
to
hear-
take
I can hear-
the cover of Mossflower back on.
I can hear Matthias twitching.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I have 2 copies of Redwall, but one is like a first edition and one's the 25th anniversary edition.
Ooh.
Well, Matthias, if it makes you feel better, I've had my copy of Martin the Warrior since 1996, and it's still in one piece. It's a little dirty from randomly being in my backpack when I was a young kid, but other than that, it was the one I read for this podcast. So can I get partial credit for that?
In my defense, most of my Redwall books are used and came to me in bad condition. The reason my Mossflower is falling apart is because I think it might be the oldest one I own.
Well, if it's any consolation, most of my paperbacks are from a used bookstore as well that unfortunately no longer exists. They were all like printing rejects, so I got them for half price. So
Nice.
most of them were like $3 each. Yay!
Nice.
So other than like maybe an occasional splotch of something on a page, yeah, they're all in good condition.
Yeah, I would take mine like to school with me, so they'd be in like the back of my backpack and stuff, because I already have all the other school books, and
Yep.
so just randomly they would just take a little bit of damage. So,
Yep.
but it's also I read them so many times, so that they're heavily used.
Just please promise me you didn't dog ear any of the pages.
No, none of them are like that. Like
Phew.
one of them, the cover, there's like a little bend on it because that's just how it sat in my backpack for half the day, and I tried to fix it afterwards. But I always tried to use a bookmark, and I always had like plenty of things that I still use as bookmarks. I still have bookmarks from like this old like Star Wars collector's thing from when I was a kid. Like there's an old Star Wars bookmark that thing is more damaged than the books are, because it used to have like one of those little frilly things attached to it and it fell off.
If I didn't have a bookmark, I would tear like a little piece of paper, like a corner off of a piece of like lined paper, and use that as a bookmark.
Yeah, I would do that too.
Yeah, and as I got older, it became receipts and things like that.
Oh, receipts are perfect, especially if it's for the book that you just purchased. That way it stays with the book and you always have this reminder of, this is when I bought this thing, at least until the bookmark fades.
Yeah, until the pencil like just wears away.
Yeah, I've got a few video game strategy guides where the bookmarks are the receipts from the stores that are no longer in business that I bought them from.
My favorite bookmarks have always been when you get like a new deck of cards, they'll have like the advertisement card that comes with it.
Oh
Those
yeah, those
things
are really good bookmarks.
They are perfect, not only because they have enough stiffness to help you easily find where you are no matter how stiff the pages are, but it's not like they're just like a little wimpy piece of paper. They actually have durability to them.
And you won't care if they get messed up.
Exactly.
For this podcast, actually, I have my quote unquote bookmarks right here in my hands. I've been using like a lot of like Well, so Japanese like soundtrack CDs and stuff usually have like these little paper spines on them. I've been using a Chrono Trigger album spine as my bookmark for this.
Amazing.
All right. Oh, that should just about wrap us up. Again, Izzy, thank you for coming on. But before we can get to where they can find us, where can they find you come August?
They can find us on Twitter at Abbey Archives or on your podcatcher of choice. Possibly not Acast, but that's just because it's fiddly and I don't have an iPhone. But we're going to try for that. You can definitely find it on Spotify, Stitcher, like at the Google Podcast app, all of those. Definitely follow us on Twitter because we've been posting art and silly things because I don't know how to keep my mouth shut. And if you want to follow me specifically because you liked hearing me talk about things and like my opinions, you can follow me on Twitter at the Shondeer. Because I am a horrible furry and Redwall didn't help that.
Okay. Jeremy, you're up. Where can they find us?
All right, you can find us at recorderonthewall.com. We are on many podcast services, Apple, Google, Spotify, and like basically if you have a podcast service app or whatever, just look us up. We're probably on it. We are featured on the RU Lelia subreddit. We are featured on the official Redwall forums. You can find us on Twitter at ROTWpod. By us, I mean everyone but me because I don't know how to use it. I've sent one tweet ever, and it took me about 10 minutes to figure out how to do it. So that was the end of that. And then we also have an email address, which is rotwpod@gmail.com.
And because I kind of got my embarrassed about this last time, I'm currently checking for reviews. No new text reviews. Jeremy, you missed last episode. We've had 3 new text reviews since April, and none of us caught it. And by none of us, I mean me. So, so of course, we would love ratings. Now, however, honestly, if you want honest people, we certainly love text reviews on the more. And when Abbey Archives comes out, you should extend them the same courtesy.
Yeah.
So, that being said, I'm your Papa Abbott Pete.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm the Peanut Gallery.
Okay, Matthias.
I've been Izzy.
And we'll see you next time, folks.